Hi everyone, today we are going to learn how to make dandelions, and they are so easy and fast. It's kind of hard to believe, but they come out absolutely gorgeous using toilet paper rolls in addition to other supplies. But initially, yes, toilet paper rolls. I think you'll love them. And this is one of these projects that when you're done, it would look beautiful hanging on your wall or to give as a gift. So without further ado, let's get started. For the first part of this project, you will need 2 toilet paper rolls, a pair of scissors, and some Scotch tape or any other kind of tape that you have. And what we are going to do on the first toilet paper roll, cut slender strips about 1/3 of the way down the toilet paper roll and cut them all the way around. Once you have those cut, make your last cut go all the way through your toilet paper roll. And then what you want to do is twist your toilet paper roll so it becomes smaller in diameter. This will make the smaller dandelion. And then you just, when you get it the size you want, I made it, I guess about half the size, you take Scotch tape and in a few places tape it down and fan out your little strips. In order to do that, all you have to do is take your hand and kind of push them outward, and voila, it is a toilet paper brush. I know that sounds so weird, but I don't think any of the brushes that I have, and I have quite a few, would do nearly as good a job on this, honestly. At least not this type of stroke that I'm trying to create here. Okay, now if you find that any of your little strips come out too far, all you have to do is take your scissors and snip those off so they're all approximately the same length. Okay? Okay. Now on the next toilet paper roll, you want to do the same process, only you want to cut further down. Maybe not quite as far as half, but further down. And you repeat the same process, cut small strips all the way around. Only this time, you are not going to cut all the way through on your last cut, okay? You want them all approximately the same length, and there is a very easy way to help with that. Say if you get some of them too long, which is very easy to do because you're not measuring this. All you need to do is get your Scotch tape, and where they're too long, just put a piece of Scotch tape. That will help when you bend out your toilet paper bristles. It will help it to stop and not go all the way down. Does that make sense? I hope so. And what I did is I had a few areas like that, but I just went ahead and put Scotch tape all the way around it. That way I just made for sure that they were all just about the same. You can do that or not. Either way is fine. Okay, and then like you did in the first toilet paper roll, bend out your bristles or strips to where they're kind of laying flat out like in the first one. And that is exactly what you need to get started on this project. I think it is the coolest thing ever. It's recycling on top of just making an awesome, if I can use the word brush stroke. You know, that's kind of using it loosely, but that's in essence what we're doing with it. Okay, now we are getting ready to begin. Please excuse my makeshift palette. That's a story for another time. I wanted to show you what we are using to start off with. I'm using Americana Craft Paint, and it's soft lilac. And all I've done is spread it out on my beautiful palette and get one of the toilet paper brushes, the large one, and I am just dabbing. I'm not really brushing. I'm just kind of dabbing and then turning and dabbing and turning and dabbing until I've made a pretty nice circle. And reloading and getting the little toilet paper brush, and I am doing the same thing with that. I've mentioned before, I believe, that things look better in odd numbers. So I am making 3 of these. See, it's just dab, twist, dab, twist. That's really all there is, and it looks so good. I am amazed. And another added benefit, there's no need to clean these brushes. And I don't even think you could if you wanted to. Yay! I suppose you could let the paint dry on them and use them again. Now, if you look at that first large circle that I made, the first large dandelion, I really think a person could stop right there. I think it is gorgeous. I really do. But being the person I am, I have to take it further. But yeah, you could easily do that, add just a few more little things like the stems, etc., and be done. That's all there is to this. On to the next part. If you like this video, I'd appreciate it if you'd give it a thumbs up and subscribe if you'd like to. I know I would love it. And hit the bell notification to be notified of future videos. Okay, thank you. All right, now we're ready for the next step. I've mixed a little bit of a blue-green, kind of an aqua color, in with our lilac. And I've done something really unconventional, but I'm sure it's just fine. I mixed it with a watercolor because that was the color that I wanted. But it's the pigment that I was after, not the water, so it should be just peachy. Okay, so now let's take a look and see what this does. Again, all I'm doing is dabbing the color, turning my little toilet paper brush and dabbing some more. And I'm dabbing lighter with this one than I did the other because the color is to enhance, not really to make the base. And it's doing a beautiful job. And I love the color. I think it really works well with the lilac, the muted lilac color. And that's all there really is to this step. I think if a person wanted to, like I said on the last step, you could probably stop at this step. As long as you brought the color in a little closer to the center, kind of like where it is on the bottom left little flower. But yeah, that's all there is to this. Now, after I finish with the next few steps of this flower, I am going to take it over to an extended video where I'm going to do quite a bit more detail to it. But it really isn't necessary. It depends on what kind of flower you want. If you want one that's a little more minimalistic like this, or if you want one that's got a lot more depth. And if you do, please check out that video because I think you'll really like it. The end result is nice. Okay, doing a little bit more now. I've got my little brush and I'm just making a few tiny dots off to the upper right hand quadrant of the paper. It's just to indicate where it's blowing in the wind potentially. That's all. But you do not have to do that. You could just keep with the flowers and call it good. Okay, so now we are going to make some stems. And since these flowers are dry and blowing in the wind, we kind of want to make stems that reflect that. So we want to make our stems look a little bit dry, wispy, not thick and luscious. So where do we want to make our stems? I think the two smaller ones will play against each other, be further apart at the top and then come together towards the bottom. And the tall one See how I'm doing that? I think it looks really good like that. But I think the tall one, I'm just going to make straight down for a little contrast. And that's really all there is to this step. This is just about as fast and easy as it can get. And like I said in the last step, I really do think that this would be a good place to stop, a perfect place to stop actually, if you filled in the centers just a little bit. But we are going to carry on with some more. And now, since I'm being unconventional today, I thought I would just take a pill bottle lid and put it in the paint. I mean, it's fun. And I thought maybe you guys would like that. Anyway, so just some sort of a lid that's about the right size. Dip it in your paint and do not make complete circles, just little parts of a circle in each flower. Okay? Not the whole thing. Because this is going to give us a base in which to put the little seeds. Okay? All right. So that means you're going to have to touch it kind of lightly. I'm using two different size lids, a smaller one, which happens to be the craft paint lid, to make the circles for the smaller flowers. And remember, just do bits and pieces. Do not do the entire thing in one circle. Okay? All right. And the reason for this is we want to keep consistent. We made the stems kind of dried looking, sparse, and the same for the little puffball flowers. So we just kind of want to keep it along the same lines, at least for now. Okay, so now I have my stipple brush. It's a great big stipple brush. You do not have to use one. If you have something like a little sponge or little dauber of some kind. Actually, Q-tips would probably be good for that too. But what I have done is I have taken light parchment from Americana and mixed in a little bit of the blue to bring it down. And I am just daubing the centers a little, not trying to be neat, and then daubing the upper right quadrant of the image a little bit. And this is going to introduce a warmer color. And if you actually look at the dandelions, they do. The center of them, the seeds are brown and the center is tan or brown, somewhere around in there. So I was wanting to introduce a little bit of that into this flower. But now, especially because the stipple brush that I have is like the Jolly Green Giant, at least the one that I have, with me, I decided to go ahead and take a small round brush and just kind of imagine where you think the little seeds would be. Of course, they would all be aimed towards the center of the flower. Okay? Does that make sense? You see why I'm laying them all out so they would, I guess you could say that they were coming out from the flower, therefore they have to be setting on the center of the flower, so they're going to be coming out in all angles. But by all means, be relaxed with this. Does not have to be perfect in any way, shape, or form. Just at least have some of them aimed towards the center. Okay? Now that's only the base. We are going to go on top of this and add more. But while we have our parchment color loaded, we want to go ahead and do the side of the stems with that, because that gives it a nice kind of dry-ish sort of look. which would really be good here. Plus, it helps to introduce a little bit of the warmer color to the bottom half of our painting. And like we did with the first color, try to keep it kind of dryish looking, kind of sparse and wispy. Don't be particular, I don't think you could mess it up. Just relax into it, go over the sides of your stems, and then take a look. It looks really good, don't you think? For some reason, being relaxed achieves something that being very uniform can't, oftentimes. If you look at my palette, you can see where I've added a little bit of sap green and I'm mixing some of that in with the parchment color. I'm doing this so I can use that on the stems, but mostly for the leaves. And now for some added interest, we are going to put leaves that are a little higher up than maybe what they would otherwise be. Maybe there's some that do have leaves that high. I don't know. I know I've seen a bazillion of them, but I didn't commit that part to memory. But I think it would look really good in this composition. But like with the rest of the image, how we're trying to make it a little drier later in the season, that kind of thing. Summer season, that is. We want our leaves to look the same kind of way. So if you notice, I have a lot of movement in the leaves, the in and out kind of movement. And I'm doing them with a relatively dry brush, actually a fairly good dry brush, because I just want to give the indication of leaves, not great big lush beautiful deep green leaves. I want it to coordinate well with the colors that we're using, and I want it to look a little dry. You know, I keep saying dry, and that's going to make this sound like it's not pretty, but I don't think that's the case at all. It's gorgeous. I just think those kind of leaves would look really good with it. Okay. Moving on. Now I am mixing a little bit of burnt umber in with the parchment, which has been mixed a little bit with the blue. I wanted to bring in a darker neutral to help with the seed colors. They needed to be just a little bit deeper in parts, in areas. Once again, to add movement and depth. And I'm using a small, I don't know the size off the top of my head, a small flat brush. This is one of the brushes that I have had for many years. And I guess after many years, even if you put in a lot of effort, you're going to end up getting some of the paint up by where the bristles attach to the brush. So it's made it a little bit fatter, which in this case is really good because I wanted something that had a wider tip to it instead of a nice clean fine line. And that's what this did. It helped make something that looked a little bit more like a seed. So I guess the moral of that little story is if you think your brush is bad, you still might want to hang on to it because it could come in very useful sometime in the future. And now I am taking more of the darker brown color and mixing it in with the parchment to create yet a deeper brown. And what I am doing with this color is I am making the very center, just indicating it, the very center of the flower where the little seeds attach. And I am not trying to make this little oval that's just beautifully photorealistic. All I'm trying to do is put a little darker brown approximately where that would be located, just to give the indication that that is where the center of the flower is. I hope that makes sense. And I'm doing that with all three flowers. But like I mentioned a few minutes ago, this is kind of like your, what do you call that on a wall? Your primer. It's kind of like the primer. No, horrible analogy. This is what is going to go underneath. So I wanted it a little darker, so maybe little tiny pieces of it might peek through. And now I'm going to get out my cool white that is Americana. And I'm not sure if you saw that because I don't think I left it there long enough. It was a flyby bottle of craft paint. But at any rate, the cool white I'm going to use for highlights. And of course, I'll probably mix it a little. But I'm going to use it to bring up certain parts of the flowers. So what we're going to do is we are going to load our toilet paper brushes with the cool white, and then we will dab wherever we would like to have some highlights. Now say if you wanted to do this at an angle because of a light source, by all means go right ahead. Say if your light source is directly in front of you, which is kind of what I'm doing here, then just everywhere, anywhere. If you wanted it to be at an angle, say from the bottom right, for example, then you would focus more of your highlights on the bottom right areas of your painting. Okay? And now that I've gotten some of that done, I'm going back in with a brush and the cool white and highlighting other areas that I want to focus more on specifically. The toilet paper brush is absolutely awesome, but you can tell by the size of it that you cannot pinpoint certain areas. That's where a brush comes in really, really handy. A regular brush with little bristles. And just FYI, what we are doing now is we are building this up. We have our base, our underpainting, if you would like to call it that, and now we are going to build it up into our finished product. And that will include highlights and different colors. What you need to do is look at your painting and see where you feel you need to bring up the highlights. And in the center of the flower where the browns are, you're going to need to build that up with some of the blues and maybe the lilac, and build it up to the point that you put white on top of that as well. And also, it is really important to mention again that be loose, free. Don't be concerned about perfection. Don't be intimidated by, oh, if I make the wrong stroke here or there, that I might, damage the look of this. Because with acrylics, things are so easy to change. If you don't like a stroke, you can go back in and redo it. Also, that's one of the joys of being loose and free with your painting. It's okay. It really is. Like I said, you'd have to work really, really hard to mess this up. Really, you would. So just relax into it and be intuitive with it and just kind of let it flow. So from here to the end, what we are doing is building up our flowers to where they look rounded and complete. And you can go in with any brushes, sponges, anything that you would like to achieve that effect. And so you'll see me going back and forth with different things, different colors, just building up those layers. And I also thought I'd mention that I, once again, am using my sketchbook which is the Canson Extra Large Mixed Media Sketchbook, and it is holding up wonderfully. I am so impressed. At the end of this video, I am going to put up a few images that I've gone into the computer and just quickly enhanced little parts of them, and I'll explain what they are. It's just how you can change things a little if you'd like. Okay, now you're beginning to be able to see where the little circles we made with the lids are kind of disappearing some. And the color of the seeds, that's disappearing some, as well as the flower center. You can still see them, but you only see kind of like their essence. You see little bits poking through, which I think is awesome because it shows where the center of the flower is, but it just kind of hints at it. And the more you build up the center area of your flower, the more that will happen. You'll get fewer hints of it than before. So you want to leave some of that showing, but just hints of it. Now, how far do you wish to take this? Do you want to take it to where there's only a few teeny tiny little hints, where you don't see the round at all? Or do you want to leave a lot of it showing? That's totally up to you. That's one of the joys of doing something like this. Art, you're the creator. You decide how much to leave showing, how much to make fade into the distance, how much to leave up to the viewer's imagination. So have fun with this and enjoy the process. Okay, so now let's take a look at a few of those images that I spoke of a minute ago. This first image is the same image as what we ended our project with, and I just put it up as a reference point for the following images. Okay, now looking at the next image, you can see where I have highlighted the center of each flower just a little, just enough to where the centers are a little bit more hidden, a little harder to make out, where that circle that we made is harder to see, and defining the seeds is not as easy. You can see a few here and there, but that's it. Now on this next image, I've highlighted the overall flower, but the center especially even more. So now, like on the center right flower, you can't really see the center. You can see a couple little parts, and that's it. The bottom one, maybe a little more so. The one on top, you can still see a little bit of the center circle that we made on the bottom, and maybe a teeny tiny bit on the top, and a teeny tiny little bit of the flower center, and that's all. So you can see what a big difference it makes, adding more and more white, building it up. And now finally, this last image, I have made it a directional thing. The sun is coming from somewhere in the upper left. So you can see where it really helps with space, dimension, what's more forward, what's furthest behind. Like to me, the center right flower looks like it's closest, and then the flower on the bottom and furthest behind is the tallest flower. And again, for me, it's very easy to spot that. And the reason is because of where I've highlighted the flowers. Now you can take it even further if you like. It's all up to you. You're the creator. I hope you enjoyed this video. I've had a lot of fun creating it and hoping that you're with me during this little journey. Have a wonderful day. Oh, and if you get a chance and create this, I'd love it if you'd share it with me. Okay, much love. Bye for now. Olivia.